evening. Welcome to the Canastota Central School District Special Board Meeting for January 26th, 2021. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Could you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. First, actually, we had to change our agenda a little bit. I'd like to entertain a motion to go into an executive session for the matter of personnel issue.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, we're in executive session. We will be coming back to get to a normal. We don't anticipate it being very long.
Okay. So. Okay.
We're all set, Mr. Headhead.
I'm feeling like a remote learner tonight because all my computer's running very, very slow for some reason. Because I don't see any of you yet.
We can hear you.
Okay, good. Can't see me yet?
I can see you.
There we go.
Yep.
Okay, good. All right, we're gonna continue on here. I think everybody else has rejoined. Sorry for that quick executive session before our regular meeting here. We'll start this off here with routine matters. Can I have a motion to approve the Board of Education minutes, January 12th, 2021, please?
Second.
I didn't hear anybody.
I got both of them, Bill.
Warren?
Catherine seconded.
Okay, all right. Any discussions, comment? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
I'm sorry?
Aye.
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 Hey, Chris, I see almost everybody else muted except you and I.
That was, I think everyone eyed that. I think we're set to move on to the next item.
No, we're not.
Now,
I'm not
I
here.
don't think we can hear.
Can't hear him.
Yeah, we're not able to hear you, Bill. I think next item is Liz's presentation. So maybe while Liz presents, you can restart your Chromebook, Bill. That might get us back to where we need to be.
So you want me to introduce the presentation? All right.
Yeah, I think Bill's having some issues.
All right. So we'll move on to the presentation scheduled for tonight. We're really excited about this. This is a real positive thing the district is working on. We have the good fortune of having one of our veteran teachers who had retired just in the last couple of years. Who's back working with us on an exciting project. We're happy to have Liz Garofalo with us tonight, and she's going to provide an overview of our badging and micro-credentialing initiative. We've been talking about this for some time. We had a little bit of a stall when the pandemic hit, but there's such tremendous value to this concept, so much value for our students and really for the larger community in this type of project, because it represents real relevant learning that's going to position our students well. And so I asked Liz to give us a little bit of an overview of what she's been working on, because during the second semester of the school year, we're now going to be launching this project where students will be able to earn badges and micro credentials. And so I will turn it over to Liz, and she can walk you through what this looks like.
Okay, let me see. Chris, do I have the capability of sharing?
Yep, you're going to go to present now.
I did that, but it's not
And then you're going to see your PowerPoint pop up, and then click on the PowerPoint, and then click present.
okay. Okay,
You got it.
okay, you can see that okay?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, good. All right, so let me go to full screen here. So what I'm going to do is give you a little bit of an overview about the credentialing program and about where I am at this point. So right now, we have, for the high school level, we have two series of badges. One is their work-based learning career skills, and one is their service learning community service area. So the first one, the work-based learning, is a set of 4 preliminary badges with a culminating career and work-based learning credential. So the students would go through a series of activities, and I'll show you some examples in a minute, and then achieve different levels of accomplishment in those skill areas. So the first one, interpersonal skills. Now these tasks and competencies were given to me from the group that started it last year, and they're based on national standards. So I have continued to work with what was provided to me, and then I've used national information as well as our state standards for a lot of the activities that the students would have to complete. Personal qualities and attributes is another one. Professional competencies and aspects of business and industry. Now, the students could work on these badges at any time, all of them at the same time, in no particular order for these first 4. I kind of like the order I've put them in because it seems to make sense, but there's nothing saying that they can start one, going to another, and go back and forth. But the culminating one for your work-based learning is the career and work-based learning badge. In order to complete this badge, the students would have to complete the other 4. So this is a build-up to get to this badge, because this is your actual work-based learning. You're out in the community and you're working in some capacity. Everything is based on the career clusters. These are national career clusters, and I've designed a badge for each cluster. So you'll notice they have, agriculture, architecture, education, health and science, information technology, all nationally based. So this right here, other than having the badges completed, and I think we have some criteria for 3 of them that Karen had established last year, those right now are in progress. Now, additional badges, these are the service learning community service badges. The first one is student life, how the students get, function at school, activities, sports, things they're involved in. And then community service, of course, is the community service that our students do. And then a senior legacy badge, which is kind of like that culminating badge. And I met with the students today in the superintendent's cabinet, and they're going to actually help me to develop some of the criteria for this legacy badge, because that is a work in progress. This badge we had talked about a couple weeks ago, so I put this together, and I'll show you the criteria in a second. This is a club participation badge that students can earn recognition for their participation badge. And one of the things I told the students today is, a lot of kids join a club just to put it on their resume. They'll go to one meeting and then you never see them again. This badge will recognize the fact that these students actually participated, were actively involved in the clubs, promoted the clubs. Some of the things that as advisors we all want to see that activity. Junior high right now has 2 sets of badges. The first one is your career exploration, which is a pretty detailed badge, because at this level, this is where we want the students to get that exposure to the career fields that are out there, and to see maybe if they have a field or a few fields that they're interested in pursuing, and they can start researching those. And then a local history badge. And we're working with Joe DiGiorgio at the Canaltown Museum, Liz Metzger and Beth Totten at the library to work on these badges. Future badge possibilities, especially at the high school and elementary levels, mentoring, and I'm working on a peer-to-peer, so a high school student would mentor an elementary school student, and then we're also working on a peer-to-career, a high school to a career professional. Other possibilities are leadership, wellness badge. One of the things, after you sit home and you watch what we're going through with anxiety and stress, I started to develop something, a little bit about, how do you deal with stress? How do you deal with time management? All of those type of things. STEM in the future, robotics in the future, and a foreign language. I've already had interest from Mrs. Traver about for a foreign language badge. So once we get up and running, we'll be working on these badges. At Robert Street right now, we've got Otis working with the kids, and he's working on goal setting, local history with Liz and Beth, so the kids are already involved in that, and there's a lot of interaction at that level where the students are actually going to workshops or assemblies to learn about these items. Last year they developed a kindness booklet for the kindergarten and first graders. And what I did this year is I took it one step farther and developed a badge book for each grade level. And these areas are based on the 6 pillars of character. So in kindergarten, they'll do kindness, first grade respect, then they'll do fairness, responsibility, and in 4th grade, they'll do citizenship. And then if they complete all of them or 1 or 2 of them, we're going to recognize them for multiple badges. So I developed this badge they'll recognize for their completion. So after 4th grade, if they've completed 3 badges, they'll get, the 3 stars and so on. I do have a website that's up on our Canastota district page. It's on the home page on the bottom left. So if you want to take a look at that, it's everything that was just in the PowerPoint. It's just informational. I don't have any of the lessons posted. I'm not going to make those public. Those will be privately delivered to the students. Now I'll show you a couple things here. So this is the clubs and activities badge, and this one is based on a series of points. So for example, in order to qualify at all, the student has to be in good standing. They have to attend at least 75% of the meetings, and they have to be able to identify the goals or the description or mission of the club or organization. All of these, I don't know if you can tell that I have bold. Anything I have in bold in any of my documents, that means there's a supporting form or a supporting lesson that goes along with it. Those have all been developed, so all of this is set to go. So for example, the student who is considered a member in good standing, they would print out the form that the advisor would sign it stating that they're a member in good standing. And then they can earn other points for activities, for helping to plan those activities, some committee verification forms if they are active on a committee, if they chair a committee, if they go to workshops, and they get different points based on what type of workshops or activities they're involved in. Are they local, are they state, or are they national? We have several clubs at school that attend national workshops, so they'll get a little bit more recognition for that. And then how they promote the club, fundraising, and the community service aspect of it. So that's the club participation. And there's a badge for each one, the gold level, the silver, and the bronze level. And then I'll show you this is an example of one of the areas. So this is the aspects of business and industry. So you'll see that the tasks are listed up above. And again, those are based on national standards. Now, to meet those standards, the students have to do a series of activities. So I've identified each standard, and then with the activities, they're also earmarked with the standard that they address. So if once they do the required activities, excuse me, they've hit all of those standards, but then they're going to do a little bit more. So for example, in this one, the student is going to have to complete and submit a business interview form. They're going to have to go out and interview an employee at a company of their interest. And then the business interview form, that's in bold, so that means I have a supporting document that the students will fill out and submit. I've created some PowerPoints for the kids. They're voiceover PowerPoints. And for example, this one, they have to watch a strategic management PowerPoint and then complete a worksheet. Then they would have to watch the financial responsibilities PowerPoint, complete the worksheet, and then the mission statement PowerPoint and complete a worksheet. Trying to hit all of the aspects of what an industry or organization functions with. You know, all of your companies are going to deal with some kind of management plan. They're all going to have to deal with financial. So this will get the kids, no matter what field or what cluster they want to go into, it'll get them familiar with what a business setup looks like. And then they have some tasks where they have some flexibility. So this next section is a series of 7 or 8 tasks. They only have to pick 5. So one of them could be do a job shadow or participate in a job shadow, go on a business visit. And then if the kids are thinking, they could, when they go and interview this person up here in the required, they can actually fill out this business visit form. So there's some things that kind of overlap, and if the students can figure that out and see that and run with it, more power to them, that's fine. These badges will not take them, this is not going to take them 6 months to complete. It may take them a couple of weeks. It may take them a month. It's not going to take them a long time. They have to participate in a class that pertains to their career choice. This is an option. So if a student knows they want to go into a career of art, if they're in an art class, they submit a copy of their grade report, and that's going to prove to me that they're in a class that pertains to their choice. So this is how all of the badges are set up. So that's what that will look like. They have to do some research articles, some writing papers, and just information that will come to me to be checked over and verified to make sure they've done the work. So this is the career and work-based learning. So this is that culminating one. And this one, in order to qualify, they need to complete those first 4 badges, because those are what business and industry has determined to be those skills that they want their employees to have when they enter the workforce. We have been working very closely with our business community, and they have been so supportive of what we're doing, and it's kind of a validation of the process. In this career-based learning, the kids are going to be introduced to ONAT, which is a very popular profiler, and where the students don't have to give any information whatsoever. They just go out and it will determine their interests and comes up with a series of occupations that fit right into their interest category. They're going to have a career plan form that they're going to fill out. They're going to get their resumes up and running, practice job interviewing, practice filling out a job application, and then doing that work-based learning where they're actually out in the workforce. And work-based learning can look like something, it could be virtual, it could be a job shadow, could be mentoring with a career professional, or it could be a full-blown internship. So it's got a lot of different aspects of flexibility for the students depending on their situations. So they will have to complete a work-based learning employability profile, so this will get them started in that profile. So those are just a couple of examples, but those badges are ready to go. We just need to determine the platform to use and get that out to the kids. The meeting we had today with the kids, they were very interested. Even the seniors still have an opportunity to do this. And, you know, I look forward to working closely with them to get some of the kids that are up and running with this. In fact, I've had one student has already reached out to me that has expressed interest just from hearing, you know, about the program. So I think we just get it started, and once we get going, you know, it may start off slow, but I think it will grow once we prove what we're doing, and the kids realize that, you know, hey, I can do this. It's not something that is unachievable. It's very achievable because some of the things they're doing already, they just don't have it documented. So we'll be documenting it and showing that these kids are gaining these valuable skills. But if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to address any, if I can.
You're muted, Debbie.
You're muted, yeah.
Well, Liz, besides you, who's going to be overseeing it? Who else is? I mean, it seems like, you know, you could have a number of kids interested, and you know, who else is going to help you? Or are
Well,
you?
right now it's me, and probably there will be a team of teachers that hopefully will jump on board once we get going. When it comes to internships, the only thing there is that the teacher has to be certified in work-based learning. And right now I'm certified, and Paula Bernor will be certified, and those would be the only two teachers that could place a student in an internship. Job shadow, any teacher can do that. The guest speakers, the workshops, all of that can be any teacher that would like to be part of this. So I mean, I don't see it starting off with 3,000. Well, we don't have 3,000 kids, but hundreds of kids doing it day one. I think it's going to start off a little slower. I mean, I may be, pleasantly surprised. I don't know, but we'll see how it goes, and just we'll take it as it comes and see.
Now, what about the elementary?
They're set right now for K through 3. All of the workbooks are done. I think they're going to roll out K through 1 in February. I talked to Jen Carnahan. She's going to distribute the books, and I told her I'd like to be there when they do that, and then we'll start recognizing the kids. But they just wanted one workbook per year. That's all they wanted at this point. So right now they have that. 4 through 6 will get a little more. What's that, Deb?
Will that be everybody then, like in kindergarten? Would that the idea?
I think so. Yeah, I think they're going to roll it out to every student.
So this is going to grow over time. The biggest thing was that we established the ability to do it, and then we had somebody who could be the point person, because the idea is over time, because of the nature of what it is, it's breaking learning into small pieces that can be mixed and matched and stacked in different ways. So, like Liz said, you could earn a credential, maybe even in some cases in a couple of weeks, that could be stacked together in different ways. So you can have some things that are very formalized, like a student working on a very formal path that maybe is acknowledged by a business who says, you do this, this, and this, and we'll acknowledge that. But we're also going to continue to make some training available so that people who want to be on the pioneers in this can start using it in their classrooms as they want to. There's a lot of things that teachers are already doing that they could use and create, make a badge out of that is acknowledged by a community organization or a business. So we can help by organizing the learning and create connections to real world things, whether it's a job or a social or community organization. So to fully answer your question, I think as we look into next year, for example, there may be Liz, but also as serving as a point person, but also some teachers who part of their assignment may be working in this. So that'll be, next year thing. During the second half of this year, there will likely be some teachers who will be working with Liz who are just trying to get up to speed with how they can use this, start trying some things and creating some early models that other people can then learn from and maybe replicate in their classroom. So the good news is it takes a while to get to where we are, in that we built the foundation. You know, we have some structure. We believe we have a platform. We won't bore you with the details of that now, but you know, we have a plan of how this can roll out, you know, in a pretty smooth way. And that will, you know, I envision that, you know, if you're looking 2-3 years down the road, this is going to be widely used. It's going to be connected to a lot of people in the community. And the nice thing about this is no matter what the state does or what requirements change, this is always going to be important. It's always going to be relevant because it's real world connection. It's not based on changing standards or that anybody else imposes. You know, every student, every teacher, every community member should be able to see relevance in the types of things that Liz is describing. That's the exciting part of it, I think. That we just scratched the surface. We've put a lot of the preliminary work in, and now we're going to start seeing some of the benefits. And I think it's really going to be a big deal because this is something that can set our students apart. You know, our kids can create a digital portfolio that they can bring with them to college or to work. That's not something every kid in every school in upstate New York can say they have. And our kids are going to be able to do that. So that's pretty exciting. That's a way that they can set themselves apart. And it's a way of us setting the bar high, you know, so that we're attached to what's going on in the outside world.
And the content is there. There's rigor, but not impossible rigor. You know, it's definitely achievable. But, you know, one of the things that I want to focus on is quality, not quantity. I'd rather have, you know, 10 or 20 badges to start off with that have a high quality rather than, you know, 100 badges that are, you know, that you can get in different areas. Because I've seen other websites where some schools have like 50, 60 badges on every single topic. Ours is a little bit more built around work-based learning, which I really like that part of it because it's about the CTE and the career and technical skills that these kids need. So it definitely has that content there. And that's what I like best about it, I think.
So Liz, if I'm the student and I want to do this, do I contact you or am I going to contact guidance or how am I going to do that? And my other question is, if there's something, I'm a little confused. So if there's something that I can do that might be, let's say, part of a English class, okay, am I still required to do the normal work of the English class?
Oh, yeah.
In addition to this? So this is an addition.
This is an addition.
Like, how do the kids, with all that they have to take, how are they going to, can they work on this like instead of a study hall? I mean, how's this?
Oh, yeah. It's very flexible. It's, you know, it's very student driven. Everything has instructions on how to do something. It's not very a difficult task, but definitely on their own time, a teacher could very easily assign a task without having to do anything. As for rolling it out, we're still working on that. We're working on the platform, but we'll get it out there to the kids. That's going to take some time to get that interest, you know.
No, it sounds really good.
Yeah, I've enjoyed working on it. It's, you know, it's been, you know, an interesting project. I've learned, you know, a lot, and I do enjoy doing it.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions?
Liz, this is more just a comment, not so much a question, I guess. But this also was to engage the community as well, too, correct? I mean, if we have local business people that feel they may have a need for an internship or something, they can reach out to the district as well to help work on some of this stuff. This isn't just putting this on, is correct?
Absolutely. We've been meeting they met last year up until March, and then we started meeting again, and I'm holding monthly meetings. And the reception from the business and community has been outstanding. I did a survey. I've gotten some responses back. Many of them want to be mentors. A lot of them want to have job internships or job shadowing. So I'm keeping I've got a database. We're going to create an advisory board and do some other things down the road, but the community response is wonderful. They're also going to help us design some other additional badges, especially those career specific badges. One of the things I'd like to do in the future is to create videos to showcase our businesses around here, and hopefully that could be a project that some of the students might want to be involved in, where we videotape and showcase these businesses that we have. Because sometimes kids may not know what a business around here does, and that would be a nice way for that exposure to happen. But yeah, they've been very, very involved and very, actively helping.
Good, great, thank you.
And I would hope, Liz, that if you're going to showcase, that we do showcase at graduation.
Oh yeah,
In the program, we have like some kind of marking for like regents, advanced regents, etc.
yeah.
Project advanced. So this would also be part of that.
Part of a recognition of some sort. Oh yeah. And depending on where we're at in June, and and hopefully where we're even better at in September. I love to celebrate them. Yeah.
They should be recognized. You're right.
Absolutely. And we'll probably do some display cases and bulletin boards and things like that, press releases. It'll be out there.
Okay.
I celebrate everything. So.
I know.
Ron, there are things like the senior legacy project that you talked about a little bit earlier. Those would be a real nice way to get kids involved with a substantial project, and we can then that will hopefully live on in school for years to come. But we will definitely acknowledge those kids.
Oh yeah.
The senior legacy project, try to create that tradition of kids who are really going above and beyond and doing things that are benefiting themselves and the school and community. So we definitely will acknowledge them. We want to make a big deal out of that.
Yeah. Because sometimes these kids don't realize what a big deal it is. We see it, and they don't even put things like this on their resumes. I'm like, they don't get it. This is important stuff for their future career. So that's one of the things I want to, help these kids to develop those resumes, to make sure, that when they leave. I mean, my goal, for the long term would be every student leaves Canastota with a working portfolio, and they have one on file.
Liz, that's been your goal for a long time, and I hope that is accomplished, because again, I think through this program as well as through your guidance, because I can remember talking to you about that, for years before.
I know.
Yep. So it's excellent.
It's good stuff. It's, career and technical education. You can't, no matter what field a kid or a student is going into, having that career and tech background is going to be very beneficial to them, because they'll be employable.
Exactly right.
Anything else for Liz? Well, I want to thank you.
Thank you.
It was a great presentation, and hopefully we can kick this off. And as always, if you need some support from us, let us know.
Oh, I will. Thank you. I appreciate your support. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Nice seeing everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you.
likewise.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to new business. First, resolved upon the recommendation of Superintendent of Schools Board has hereby approved the memorandum of agreement with CSEA dated January 12th, 2021. May I have a motion, please? Tracy, Kathleen, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Resolved upon the recommendation of Superintendent of the Schools the board does hereby approve the memorandum of agreement with the Canastota Teachers Association dated January 12th, 2021. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Be it resolved that John Orlalo, Esquire, of Remsen, New York, is hereby appointed to serve as a civil service law section 75 hearing officer for the Canastota Central School District. May I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Board comment period. Anybody have anything tonight?
I just wanted to remind people, I don't know, maybe Sean was gonna say something too, but I was looking through my mail today and reminded myself that tomorrow and Thursday, the legislators are going to be on from the BOCES. And, you know, that's always, you know, I don't know what they're gonna say, but it's always kind of a interesting program that Jim Van Wormer and BOCES puts together. So tomorrow night was going to be Rachel May, and then Thursday night is John Salka. So I just wanted to remind people that that's kind of a nice thing and an informative thing to listen to.
Anybody else? Superintendent's report.
Okay, there's been quite a bit of news on the state level in the last few days, so I'll start with the question of whether or not there's going to be state assessments this year. I know that's something that a lot of students and parents have been wondering about. We don't have an official answer yet, but I can tell you that the state education department is seeking a waiver that would allow us to the state to waive those state assessments this year. And there's actually two parts to the waiver that they're requesting. There are two waivers. One is that the assessments themselves would not need to be administrated. The second waiver is that schools would be relieved from meeting the standard of evaluation under the current ESSA guideline. So, for example, not only are districts evaluated based on assessment performance, but participation, absenteeism, or chronic absenteeism, those sorts of things that are all a part of the ESSA legislation. So the state education department is asking the request waiver on both fronts. So we wouldn't administer or be required to administer the assessments, and that also we would not be held accountable for the various metrics that they use under ESSA to evaluate school districts in light of the pandemic. So, well, obviously there'll be more to come on that. We will update our school community when we have an answer and if that waiver is approved. So it is in the works, but just to be clear, that's not a decision that I can make or the board can make or our local BOCES can make. This is bigger than that. And even in this case, it's bigger than the state. The state has to get approval from the federal level to open that door. So when we have that information, we'll share that. Another big piece of news that came out really last Friday was that the state has opened the door potentially for athletic competition for sports that had been deemed as high-risk sports. This was a bit of a surprise. It wasn't really something that many people thought was something that was going to be happening. But that announcement was made. It was it's a somewhat complex issue, and that while the door was open at the state level, local counties were asked to basically authorize or allow these things to happen. So obviously that's required county health departments to have to meet and discuss what this is going to look like at the local level. So while they've opened the door for athletic competition for high-risk sports to potentially start as soon as February 1st, as you can imagine, multiple layers to this at the local level, from, obviously district decisions that have to be made, but those district decisions will be informed by health department recommendations, which will be forthcoming in the next few days, we anticipate. Also, league considerations, because it's important that there be consistency in practice in so many levels, both in league and in Section 3. And so, I know Mr. Congdon, our athletic director, has been involved with multiple meetings. I've had multiple meetings as well. And over the next few days, we're trying to sort through this and make some sense of it. Again, we will be sharing more information with the school community as it becomes clearer where everything stands. I would just say, I know Mr. Congdon's on the call, if there's anything that he would add at this point on the subject of sport, athletics. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Ms. Becerra. I mean, you did a good job recapping a little bit. It was Shock Friday. If you would have told me Friday when I came to work we were going to play winter sports, I would have bet everything. Now, matter of fact, as AD, we weren't even talking about winter sports. We were moving on to fall 2 season, talking about football and cheerleading. So we weren't even talking about it. They did send us, we did get an email, though, Friday about 11 about what would be the last date that you would consider starting winter sports, and to check with report back to Section 3 what that date would be. And we're like, wow, that's odd. And then 3 o'clock, it hit the social media first. One of our teacher coaches, actually for me, Coach Smith, said, hey, we're having sports. And I was like, what are you talking about? I contacted all the ADs. They had no idea. And then it was about 15 minutes later, it went out to everyone. We decided ADs not to comment because, even though, we're on the line, everyone's asking questions. We didn't know if this was real or not real, but it was confirmed at about 5:45 Friday night that Robert Zahaf, New York State Athletic Association, said, yes, we are permitting high school sports or winter high-risk sports, as long as counties say yes and the districts say yes. So, right away, we wanted to meet as a league. Yesterday, we met today. We're meeting tomorrow. We don't have a lot that we can really plan because it is dependent on each county. On Center State Conference, we have 27 schools. There's 6 counties in the Center State. So trying to get 6 different beliefs in each county and all 27 schools is hard. So what we're doing now, things we're working on is, if we were to have these, if it was approved at the district level and at the county level, what is the safety environment we could have for athletes? So some of the things, I'll just give you an update that we are talking about. We did ask Section 3 when we got it, is there any way we can extend that winter season? It was supposed to go February 1st to February 28th. They granted us extra 2 weeks, so if we did have it, it would go to March 13th. Another thing that we talked about doing, girls volleyball, if we could split it up a little, that's a fall and a winter sport. So we talked about, to save gyms and not have so many people in one gym, if we were allowed to do this, we would try to move girls volleyball half the schools to the fall too, because most of us in the Center State did play a fall season, and it would impact 6 of the other schools. But if we could do that, it would save people coming in and out of the gyms. Other safety measures that we talked about, New York State does allow you to have 2 spectators at events. A lot of talk in the Center State is not to have spectators at all. That was one of the things. There's some talk possibly having 1. We did think that we want to be consistent with whatever we went with, like the fall was very consistent. Everyone had the same rules. But there are some schools that said it doesn't matter if they say we're going to have 2 spectators or 1 spectator. their school would enforce no spectators. We talked about when it came to scheduling if you're allowed. And again, what's hard is we're at a standstill. We don't know who's going to be able to offer to winter sports and who isn't. We still have to wait for other approval. But if we want it, if they get the okay, what schools have it, we want to talk about only scheduling within our county or a bordering county, a region. So, like, we would not want to travel all the way out to a West Canada or Little Falls, even though Little Falls is typically a school we play. So we do want to keep it semi-local, have more divisions. With more divisions, we would be playing each other multiple times. So we just don't want to extend that. Really, that's about it. Like I said, I know different counties are meeting at different times with superintendents and ADs, and it's just a waiting game where every morning we'll get back to the ADs about what our district and what our counties think.
Yeah, I think
Like I said, a lot of big news, big announcement, but not a lot to move forward with because there's so much unknown right now.
Yeah, the tough part about this is you could start to get a taste of just off of what has been mentioned already, that there's a lot of different layers to this. And while people were excited, and obviously I think everybody wants to be able to see kids, students be able to play, the timing was caused a lot of problems because the state made the decision sort of out of the blue to say this is a door that could be open, but then deferred on the detail end to local, the counties and to school districts. So it would have been helpful if they were going to go down this road to announce that or let us know a little bit sooner so that some of these conversations that are being, held in the form of emergency meetings by, health departments and by athletic directors and superintendent group, it would have been nice to have had a little bit more of a leeway than a week. So everything is happening on a very condensed timeline. And as Mr. Congdon said, more of those meetings will be continuing in the next couple of days. So we will have to keep updating everyone and updating the community as we're able to have report more specific information about what specific guidelines are going to be in place that will help us shape our decision.
Can I ask a question on that? What are the rules if we had no or limited spectators to broadcast the sports? There's no rules there, right, Stan?
No, I mean, as long as, one of the athletes doesn't say that it can't be photoed, from before the beginning of school, that would be something I would have to check. I have thought of that, and many schools have thought about live streaming events. That's something that we would definitely look into. Because I know people want to see if we are allowed to play. They want to see their kids play. There's no doubt about that. But as long as a certain member doesn't have anything saying that they can't be photoed or anything like that, we're good to go. And we don't get very many of those, especially at the high school level. We don't get many at all.
It happens very commonly now too. It's a very common practice, becoming more and more frequent that games are streamed. People can watch more up.
I think it eases the burden on the spectator side. I'll leave my political comments out of it for today. Thank you.
Okay. Anything else for Mr. Congdon at this point, or more to come on this? So we'll have to keep updating him. Just a couple other quicker updates today. As many people know, it was a half day for students, and the day, second part of the day was involved our staff members working on a variety of staff development initiatives. I think that the time was put to good use, and that we've talked a lot about the importance of having district goals, and obviously we're wrapping up the first semester and second marking period. Our next board meeting on February 9th, there will be our next quarterly goal update. one of the important things, one of the important components of our goal process was vertical and horizontal coordination in our curriculum. We know that we function better, kids learn better when everybody's on the same page. And so today our instructional staff worked with their colleagues horizontally, and by that I mean grade level or within departments, talking about what their priorities were, what they're doing in their classrooms, what is important to student learning. That is part of the foundation building so that we can have real productive conversations vertically, so that as students progress through from kindergarten through 12th grade, that we know that we have a very coordinated, efficient instructional plan. So this is just one part in the process, but it'll be a continual process. And it's important for people to understand that, sometimes it's difficult to have a half day for instruction. The teachers are really hard at work in doing things that can continue to make our instructional programs as we can possibly make it. The work we did today will be continued in our upcoming half days and beyond. So I think a productive day, and I wanted to report that to everybody. I just wanted to point out that Peterborough, as many of people already know, Peterborough Elementary had originally been scheduled to come back today after being remote for some time. We did have several positive cases. We always take that seriously in order to make sure that we felt like we had a good handle on our staffing capabilities, and that we were confident that there was not any type of larger spread within the building. We decided to move our reopening back to next Monday, February 1st. So obviously things can change, and as we've learned this past 10 months or so, we're only a phone call away from the health department with learning that there may be factors that we need to react to. But at this point, the plan is to have our students at Peterborough return next Monday. So we're looking forward to having our students back, obviously. A couple other things that have come out in the past week or so. There's something called a fiscal stress report. The comptroller's office has, I believe, since 2014 or so, they've come out with this annual report that gives a determination of what level of financial stress a school district may be under. We've just received word a few days ago, and I believe the report is just being made public or will be made public at any moment. What our rating was relative to fiscal stress, and so two parts, I guess. I'm gonna ask our executive director for finance and operations, Mr. Panuccio, to give us a little bit of a rundown on how we made out with our fiscal stress report, and that will lead in nicely to a very quick update on what we learned with the initial budget runs that have come out just last week as a result of the governor's preliminary draft budget. So a little bit of an update on both of those items. Mr. Panuccio, can you take it from here?
Sure. Just like Superintendent Masetta said, I'm not going to go too much into it. We are a no designation school, which is good. There are 4 levels of designation. One is significant fiscal stress, one's moderate fiscal stress, one's susceptible fiscal stress, and one is no designation. And that is a designation that we have. So that is a very good thing. That's the lowest that we can be. So if anyone has any questions on that, you can give me a call at the office at any time, but that's good news. And we have been in that designation for several years in a row. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. I'm not going to get into the budget numbers, and I'm going to tell you why, because it's very fluid right now. On January 19th, the governor's got to have a budget that comes out to the public. He did that, but there are a lot of questions with this budget because of the categories that our aid is put in. And I will share my screen to show you that how things look very different than from 1 year ago. Just give me a thumbs up when you can see it. Okay, thank you. So we have 2 years. We have 2021 and 2022. I'm just going to quickly go over each line item. The first is foundation aid. That stays the same. We all know that that's the biggest aid that we get from the state. It's a very complex formula, and it is different for every school district in the state. The ones in blue, BOCE, special services, hardware, technology, software, transportation. Those are now all categorized into services aid. They're all in the same bucket. Why are they there? I mean, these are expense-driven aids, based on transportation. However, our transportation is we get 90% of that back. BOCES, depending on what's aidable and what's not, we get a certain percentage of it back. The other two are based on pupil. Well, if you're putting them all in the one category, I mean, it's kind of hard to determine what's expense-based and what's not. They're talking about moving services aid right into foundation aid and being one class itself. Well, that presents several problems. I mean, how do we know that we're getting 90% on our transportation aid? How do we know that we're getting, our dollar for dollar on our BOCE services that we go through? So there's a lot more to come on that. There's really no answers, but they've talked about doing this for several years. But this is the year they finally put it into one category, and I expect in the future for them to add that to foundation aid. The next two are our public cost, high access cost, and our private. That's just for our special ed kids to go to public schools, special ed kids to go to private schools. So that stayed the same. So that would be all of our aids that come from the state. The next is building aid. That stayed the same. UPK down here, that stayed the same. And at the bottom here is all brand new. What I put in is the CARES Act. We already know what that is. The pandemic adjustment is where the state took the money away and they supplemented it with federal funds with the CARES Act. This upcoming year, the bottom two, this is the CRRSA Act, where they've taken away the local district funding adjustment. They've taken a significant amount away, three times the amount than last year, but they supplemented it with the supplemental stimulus that President Trump signed right before January 1st. So it is a good thing for this year. We have all of our aid that we were expecting to get, as far as, we're not going to get deducted a certain amount of millions of dollars, but the problem is what happens next year when the federal funds are gone. The takeaways are still going to be there, so how is that going to be supplemented? We don't know. And we're hoping that, Governor Cuomo keeps reiterating his being excited that the New York State's going to be able to get the $15 billion to balance the budget. And he did earmark and say that a lot of that would go to schools. But we shall see, because we do know that we don't get the money directly from the federal government. It goes right to the state, and past practice they balance their budget with the money that comes from the federal government. So that's all I'll say about that. The one interesting thing is you see the STAR payment here. I'm really not going to get into it tonight because I'm not sure why this is here. Some of the biggest financial experts in the state that have been doing this for 30, 40 years are not sure why this is here. So that'll be more to come on this. But we know that in the past, Governor Cuomo said how he wanted to get away from STAR. This may be the way where he's going to start doing that. So I'm not sure how that's going to look. More to come. So I'm going to go to another tab. And this is going to talk about our foundation aids. So at the top 1920, our foundation aid was $10,672,278. It was the same last year because of COVID-19, and it has come out flat again for 3 straight years in a row. I'm just going to use 2.2% as a basis. It could be 1.9, and sometimes it can fluctuate to 2.5. But this is a relatively average number that you would get as an increase over a 5-year period. Actually should be more, but this is what we have got. So if you can see, if we were supposed to get $10,907,000 last year, $11,147,000 this year, $11,392,000 next year, and we're not getting it. It is staying flat. So if you can see in column E, the difference between what they have given us to what we should get in our increases, it exponentially goes up each year. So after a 3-year period, I'll just go from 2021 to 22. If we got those normal increases, we are down $1.5 million. And this isn't just for Canastota, this is for every district in the state. You can see how hard it is to be able to prepare a budget with all the unknowns that are going on and the amount of monies that we haven't been receiving. So, you know, they did say it's going to last a couple of years. It's not just going to be this year. So I'm just looking out for a 5-year period. If that happened after 5 years, because it goes up exponentially each year, we're going to be missing $3.6 million after 5 years, which is only 2 years away. So I know these are scary times, and until I hear otherwise, this is what I'm going to forecast and budget for. I'm only going to, budget for exactly what we were being told we were going to receive. I'm not going to expect some bailout that's going to come from the federal government, because we all know that they just balance the budget here in New York State with it. So I know this looks grim, but it's the truth. And, does anybody have any questions? Because this is all I have for tonight. When I find out more, I will definitely pass it along. The word on the street has it that these numbers are not going to be solidified until the state runs come out in March. So there's going to be a lot of lobbying. There's going to be a lot of talk back and forth. I know that the legislators, they said, are meeting with people earlier this year. Typically, they meet with them in March, right before the governor comes out. But I guess, to Deb's point earlier, they're going to be meeting, I don't know if you said this week, Wednesday, Thursday. I think that's what she said. So, by all means, if anyone has any questions for them or concerns, I'm sure they're going to tell you they already know what your concerns are and that they're working hard for us. But, unfortunately, this is the reality that we live in right now. So it's very hard to be able to accurately budget, And Sean and I have talked about it. He's been an administrator for 20 plus years, and we both, this has never been a precedent before. We've never seen a budget that we have to prepare for like this. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Sean.
No, I think you nailed it. I think what Nick pointed out was important, though, is that people get caught up in what's the interest, the increase. And this is really now compounded. The impact is compounding because you're stacking multiple years flat aid. And so, you can put your finger on the dike and hold off for a certain time, but this is an unsustainable model. And so unless a greater amount of the federal money is funneled in this direction, which we're not overly optimistic about, this is going to continue to be a concern for us.
Yeah, I do have some good news, so we can smile a little bit here. I see a look on everyone's face. The 20% that they said that they were going to potentially withhold from the 2020-21 budget, they have come out and said in the recent couple of weeks, well, it may be as high as 5%, but it will not be 20%. Well, we did receive news, out of the state that it's not going to be anything. We will be fully funded for this year. And on top of that, they did take 20% from our meal money through our school lunch fund and our access cost and BOCES aid that we're supposed to be paid in September. That's 2019-20 aid. They are going to give us that in full as well. They didn't say that we would get that this year. They said that we would get the 2021 funds in full this year, but they could still be on our books as a receivable until we receive the funds. I'm not sure when those will be able to come along. So I'm not sure. Anyone have any questions? That is good news, though. I mean, that's several hundreds of thousands of dollars that we're going to get that we had to potentially anticipate that we might lose, and especially the 20% in this year. That would have been detrimental. But it's just like they keep passing the buck. They keep kicking the can down the road. I know we always like to say that saying. If you look at the slide that I pulled up, they're just pushing it down the road. Once that federal funding, they're not going to federal fund us every year. There's not going to be a stimulus package. When that goes away, we need to know what's going to happen. And right now, nobody knows.
So you know it's been a rough budget year when you're very happy just to get back to flat. And in the other year, this would be not seen it. So it's all relative. You know, we're happy that we didn't lose it, and it could have been worse, but it still hasn't been great from the beginning. And certainly the uncertainty has really been difficult, with the potential of having to make adjustments in real time during that same year. So we will continue to update you on that as well.
Thank you.
All right. And I'll stop talking because I've been talking a while. So that's what I had for an update.
Anything for the superintendent? Or Nick, or I still see Stan on. Chris, anybody? Going once. All right, there are no personnel recommendations. Our next future meeting is February 9th. That is our regular board meeting at 6:30. It probably will also be virtual for this. I'll say tentatively it's probably going to be virtual for everybody. Just a quick explanation on that. We're just looking at it as we just can't take the chance because our meetings are more than the health department's timeframes to basically expose our administrators, and we'd have them all together, and then they'd have to be quarantined out of the building for 14 days or whatever the recommendation is. So we're trying to make sure that they can continue to do their work and their job, and we appreciate that. So that's why we do that. Anybody have anything else? All right, I'd like to take a motion to have an executive session to talk about some contractual and personnel items.
So moved.
Did you get a second, Nick?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're in executive session. I'm not anticipating us coming out with any voting after this meeting here. So, thank you very much.